In Ukraine enters its fourth week. The Russian advance seems to have stalled on nearly all fronts, with minimal progress on land, sea, or air in recent days. This, according to British intelligence, which added that all major cities in the country remain in Ukrainian control. While facing stiff resistance on the battlefield, Russia's campaign has become one of intensifying bombardment and laying siege to cities. Nicholas Rushworth looks at the situation on the ground.
In Kharkiv, in eastern Ukraine, near the Russian border, a market went up in flames after Russian missiles hit new targets. The market has been closed since the war began 3 weeks ago.
I saw black smoke. I realized that the market was on fire, so I came here to try and save the fresh produce.
The city, Ukraine's second largest, has been under constant shelling and artillery fire since the war began. Residential areas have been hit. Here in the southern port city of Mariupol, survivors of one attack fled. A pensioner and grandmother was among them.
We left even without our underclothes. We dressed in anything we could find. What are the politicians doing? What is all this for?
Mariupol's authorities say they were still not able to estimate the number of casualties from Wednesday's airstrike on a theater in the city. Satellite pictures showed the word children had been marked out on the ground in front of the building before it was hit. In Kyiv, the northeastern and northwestern suburbs have suffered heavy damage, but the capital itself has held firm. A curfew has been in place as shelling continues.
The general situation over the past day is that there have been no significant changes around Kyiv. I would like to stress there is still a high possibility the enemy will attempt to take Kyiv by storm.
Elsewhere, in the frontline northern city of Cherniv, there were reports dozens of civilians have been killed over the last 24 hours.
Well, the war in Ukraine has also given rise to a war of information. Ukrainian officials, including President Zelensky, have proven adept at using social media to boost global support for their cause. Moscow, meanwhile, has clamped down on the media, blocking access to various sites, as well as platforms including Facebook and Instagram. Well, earlier, France 24 spoke to Maria Avdiva, a Ukrainian researcher who decided to stay in Kharkiv despite relentless shelling to combat disinformation.
What Russia now claims is that they try to legitimize this aggression, but by saying that this was Ukraine who was actually planning an attack on Russia, and now Russia has to defend itself. And also they, for example, claim that this is Ukrainian military who are shelling Ukrainian cities themselves. And this kind of false misinformation and outrageous lies are quite popular in Russia. So they have numerous distribution in Russian state media. And I saw my role in giving the true information about what is really happening in 1.5 million city where I live, because every day I see new and new houses destroyed because of the Russian bombardments and shellings. And that's why I think that this is very important to give the information from the ground about the real situation in Kharkiv, so that people will see actually what is happening here and will not listen and watch Russian propaganda.
Well, a week into Russia's invasion of Ukraine, the International Criminal Court opened a probe into possible war crimes, but neither Russia nor Ukraine are signatories to the ICC, and Moscow does not recognize it. So how are investigators approaching the case? Our colleagues at François take a closer look with Vedika Behal.
It's the haunting image of a pregnant woman that went viral, as well as children's bodies lying on the pavement, joining horrific images released every day from Russia's bombing in Ukraine. But do they constitute war crimes? In The Hague, under the direction of the chief prosecutor, the International Criminal Court has been tasked with the investigation.
We know very clearly that if civilians are directly targeted, if civilian residences or locations are targeted, that is a crime.
But the level of these atrocities cannot be measured. raising the question on how exactly to conduct the probe. On the ground, young Ukrainians gather evidence, analysing computer data to verify them and hopefully obtain justice.
We try to collect all the evidence to point at every individual who pulled the trigger or ordered to commit a crime.
Satellite images before and after shelling could also provide corroboration of the crimes committed.
The goal is to get the alleged perpetrator of war crimes, no matter their rank, to face justice in front of a court.
But could President Putin be put on trial? For this lawyer, he could very well be held accountable.
The International Criminal Court doesn't provide immunity for heads of state who are in office. So the court today is the only power able to chase up Vladimir Putin.
ICC investigators have traveled to neighboring countries in order to interview victims of the war.
Russia has canceled a UN Security Council vote on a resolution it drafted about the humanitarian situation in Ukraine, a vote scheduled for Friday. Russia deciding to scrap that vote due to a reported lack of support from allies, according to diplomats. The draft resolution didn't address accountability or push for an end to the fighting. Well, the move comes after a Security Council meeting on Thursday, during which the U.S. representative condemned Russia's invasion and called for its troops to withdraw.
Russia will be held accountable for its atrocities. There's only one way to end this madness. President Putin, stop the killing. Withdraw your forces. Leave Ukraine once and for all.
Our New York correspondent Jessica Lemazurier has been covering this for us.
During this Security Council meeting, we heard both sides accuse each other of hypocrisy, and the Russian ambassador Vasily Nebenzia said that Russia would no longer be putting its humanitarian resolution to a vote on Friday. It is not aborting that resolution. It may come to a vote at a later stage, but the Russian ambassador said that Western powers had been putting a lot of pressure on other member states not to support that resolution. He accused them even of blackmail, and he said that Russia is calling now for an emergency UN Security Council session to discuss yet again Russia's claims of US biolaboratories in Ukraine. So now we expect there to be a Security Council meeting regarding that on Friday morning. But Linda Thomas-Greenfield, the US ambassador to the United Nations, was quick to call those claims farcical and say that this was just Russia once again trying to use the Security Council to spread disinformation and propaganda. Now, during this meeting on Thursday, we heard from UN representatives about the toll on civilians during this war. We heard from Rosemary DiCarlo, who said that there are corpses still littering the streets in Mariupol because it's so unsafe there that people can't go out to collect them, and that more than 700 people, including 53 children at least, have been killed so far since the start of this war.
Jessica